Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Basavaraddi English Medium School online classes. How are you all? Fine. I hope you all are doing well. So, prepared for your first chapter of 8th standard, right? All right. So, have you gone through your textbook? What is there in 8th standard? Curious to know, right? Have you gone through it? If not, start doing it. Okay. So, what's our first chapter then? What is our first chapter? Natural resources. See, natural resources. What do you mean by natural resources? That means these are the things that occur in nature and that are useful to us. Natural resources means things that occur in nature and that are useful to us. Okay, we have a lot of natural resources, okay, which are from living beings or derived from living beings. Okay, a large number of natural resources which are from living beings as well as from non-living beings. So the one which are coming under our living or derived from living resources are called as living resources. For example, we have forest and wildlife, and there are some of them called as non-living resources, which are, for example, you have soil, water, air, mineral ores. Okay, these are all non-living. Do they live? No. But when it comes to forests and wildlife, forest means plants. Yes, they are living beings. Wildlife, animals, derived from living organisms. Products of forest, timber, okay, wood. You have many things. Wildlife, leather, right? So those are all derived from living organisms. That's why they are called as living resources, and the one which do not live, such as your soil, water, and air, minerals, are called as non-living resources. So best way to understand is a particular flow chart. Let's go through that. Yes, can you see here? Natural resources, they are basically of two: living resources and non-living resources. In case of living resources, we have forest and wildlife. In when it comes to non-living resources, we have renewable resources and non-renewable resources. See, living resource means which are living, forest and wildlife. Basic, they are divided into living and non-living. Then in case of living, examples what all we have: forest and wildlife. When it comes to non-living, we have renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Renewable and non-renewable resources. Let's go to this. Renewable natural resources. Natural resources which can be replenished in nature easily. Replenished means again, if it is finished, we can get it back again. So that is replenished in nature easily. Which are they? Wildlife and forests. In case of renewable resources. Correct? Then again in renewable resources, some are continuously available for use. That means again here in case of renewable resources also, again there are two types: inexhaustible and exhaustible. Exhaust means finishing, inexhaust means which are not being finished. That means they are again renewed again and again. Here renew means which are replenished, which we can get back, but there is also what you call a restriction for that. For some of them, those are called as exhaustible, and one which can be replenished easily in nature in case of renewable resources are called as inexhaustible. Which are they? Solar energy and wind energy. Does the solar energy stop after some time? No, it is a continuous process. Wind, it doesn't stop, it is also a continuous process. But when it comes to your wildlife and forests, We need to think about it, right? Yes, we need to. Let's think about it when it comes further. Then, resources which can be depleted by continuous use are called as exhaustible resources. We just saw that example we have forest and wildlife. So basically, what is inexhaustible and exhaustible? Exhaustible means which finishes off, inexhaustible which doesn't finish. Okay. Next, non-renewable resources. Resources which cannot be replenished once depleted are called as non-renewable resources. See, non-renewable. Renewable means renew. And we can make new there. Non-renewable, which cannot be able to replenish, or which can we cannot make new from it. Same product as new. No. So such kind of resources are called as non-renewable resources. Which are they? Minerals and fossil fuels. Minerals and fossil fuels. How do we get this fossil fuels and minerals? Minerals are present deep inside the earth crust. Same way your fossils. It takes long years and years to get these fossil fuels. How it comes? When the dead and decaying organisms are buried inside, deep inside your earth, they start decaying. With the decaying process for long millions of after millions of years, we get this fossils and fossil fuels. Okay. So before going further, let's go through this chart again. So natural resources, there are of two types: living resources and non-living resources. In case of living resources, we have forest and wildlife. And in non-living resources, there are again two types: renewable and non-renewable resources. So first let us go to non-renewable resources. Non-renewable means which cannot be renewed. You can't produce them again. So they are called as non-renewable resources. Which are they? Minerals and fossil fuels. Then coming back to your renewable resources, this is again of two types: inexhaustible, exhaustible. Renewable, yes, these are, you can reproduce it, but again it depends on how you use it. If you use it continuously and if they are depleted, then it is exhaustible. If after depletion also, if you can produce them again, then it is called as inexhaustible. In case of inexhaustible, we have solar energy and wind energy, but in exhaustible we have wildlife and forest. Understood this part? Very easy. If just before going to this chapter, go read it once. Before going through this video, go read the chapter. Then watch this video. You'll understand it in a better way. Okay? Now, next, water. Water is, tell me whether it will come in renewable or non-renewable. Anyone? So it is non-living resource, right? It is a non-living resource. So water is a unique natural resource as it is very much essential for the existence of life. Correct? We do require water, right? It is very much required for us. What then next? Water is a limiting factor for many aspects of life. The way we are using the water now, can we use, if we practice the same way, do you think we'll be having enough of water for a future use? No, right? Why? Why people say save water, save earth? Such kind of slogans you might have heard, right? Why do they say this? Let's go through this. In most of the cases, there is no substitute for water. So, if water is not available, do we have anything else which is like water for use? Any of such substance? No. We can't use, right? So what water is very unique in nature. It is a very unique solution, right? So it is occurring very naturally. In nature, water can change its form, but we can always retrieve it. So you have studied in your earlier classes water and its forms. So water is available in solid state, liquid state as water, gaseous state as vapor, water vapors. So we can get this, retrieve it from any of this form. If it is in solid, that is in your ice form, if we melt it, we'll get the water. Okay. Now gaseous form, water vapors, if we condense it, we are again going to get water. Now your question would be how the condensation or takes place. How can we get the vapor, water vapor, which is not visible to our eyes? How can we get that as water? Right? Liquid form. Best is the rain. So when it rains, when there's a lot of heat, the water which is present in the ponds, it gets evaporated. It forms the vapor in the atmosphere. And when it is densed, then we get the rain. Correct? So in nature, water changes its form, but we can always retrieve it. We can get it in the way we want. Correct? 70% of Earth's surface is covered by water. So when you see the world map, 71% of the Earth's surface is covered by water. So, but still, even though we have so much of water, why people fight for water? It's very common, you might have seen it. Why? Yeah, let's see. So, see here. Earth's total water is 71% we have to Earth's total water. So, in case of 100%, 97% we have salt water. Can you drink salt water? No, we can't, right? It's very salty. So, even though Earth is covered with 71% of water, we can't use it because it is salt water. In that 71%, 97% is salt water. The remaining 3% is fresh water. Is this only 3% of fresh water? Is it available for us directly? Again, we have some subdivisions. In case of fresh water, if you see here, you see here the fresh water. In case of fresh water, we have, yeah, fresh water. Now again, it is being divided. We have 68.7% ice caps and glaciers. So whatever the fresh 3% out of 100, 3% whatever fresh water is there, in that 3%, 68.7% we have ice and glaciers. 30.1% as groundwater, others 0.9%, and surface water is how much? 0.3%. Now, surface water means your rivers, lakes, ponds, those all come in surface waters. So, now in surface water, that means in 0.3%, what all, how much we have lakes? 87% is covered by lakes, 2% is covered by rivers, and 11% by swamps. See, total we have all over the earth 71% of water. In case of 71%, again it is divided into 97% in salt water, 3% in fresh water. This 3% of fresh water is divided into glaciers, groundwater, surface water, and others. Now, this 0.3% of surface water is divided into lakes, swamps, and rivers. Means Out of this much of chapati, we are left with only a small piece. Imagine, is it going to be sufficient for you? No, but we have to make it sufficient for ourselves, right? Okay. Water is used for various human activities. So, for which all activities we use water? For drinking, we use agriculture purpose, washing, huh? Then recreations. It is also used in heat exchange processes, industries, and fire extinguishers. So, in case of agriculture, to grow the crops, washing clothes, cars, right? Then heat exchange in some of the industries, heat exchange process also goes. Fire extinguishers, wherever we have fire, so they use water, right, to extinguish, right? Then it is estimated that average consumption of water by human being ranges from 20 to 30 liters per day, depending upon their activity and place of living. So just imagine how much of water, just calculate it for one day, how much of water you use. It might be for drinking, washing, anything or other activities. How much you use, calculate it. Then it is just for one day. Think of 1 week, 1 month, right? 6 months, a year. See, so much we use. And let me tell you, when we are using, we don't think of all this. We just use it like anything without knowledge, right? Now, when we go further, you'll understand how water is important for us. 80% of water in country is used for agricultural practice. So, whatever the surface water we have, out of that in our country, 80% we use it for agriculture. So our country is agricultural based country. So here agriculture is given the most importance, right? So for agriculture we need water. So 80% of water is used for agriculture purpose. In states like Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat, over 85% of irrigation is done through groundwater sources. Not the surface water but the groundwater sources. Problems related to water in a country are scarcity, overuse, and unequal distribution. So why do we have water problems? Why does it arises? Scarcity, because we use it like anything. Overuse it. It means now, how many of you at your home put your tap, close your tap when it is not in use? When you're brushing, the tap will be on and you'll be brushing, right? Is it a good way? Think about it. Whenever you don't want the water to be used, please close the taps. Okay? Unequal distribution. In some places, we have plenty of water. In some places, it's almost nil. So, the distribution should be correct. Right? The annual rainfall in a country is 400 million hectare meter. How much? 400 million hectare meter. And 20 million hectare meters flow in as surface water. How much we have rainfall? 400 million hectare meter. And in that 400 meter, 20 million hectare meter flows as surface water. And the remaining has to be in the groundwater, right? Yes. So is it going there? Have we done anything to store this water, the rainwater? We have to do, right? So that the water table level increases and we get sufficient water for our uses. Not just us, in all the places wherever we have drought and all, in that place also we need to increase the water table level. Overuse and lack of planning have resulted in a state of scarcity. Lack of planning, if you don't plan how to use, how much to use, then that will lead to your scarcity and there will be no more water. Conservation of water in both urban and rural areas should be done. That means the conservation of water, it has to be taught to people not just in urban area but in the rural areas also. If you would be very much surprised, the rural people have the knowledge how to use the water, how much to use, but when it comes to the city people, they don't know this. They just park their car outside, they switch on the pipe and they just waste the water. They should use a limited amount of water, right? People should be educated about the need for harvesting rainwater resources and constructing watershed. So the rainwater, we should conserve it, we should harvest it. That means it has to be stored in particular places so that we can use that rainwater, or otherwise the just rainwater flows away. So there has to be some of the planning should be done for this rainwater harvesting also. March 22nd is celebrated as World Water Day. When we celebrate World Water Day, March 22nd. So, any doubts? I hope you don't have any doubts here. It is very easy. Okay. What we understand by this is water is very precious and we have to use it properly. We should not waste it. Okay. So, next we have one more non living resource, which is soil. Soil is natural resource that provides minerals and water to all the land plants. It is a natural resource that provides minerals and water to all the land plants. Yes? Yeah. It is a primary nutrient base for all plants. So we have the plants which are placed. That means we have plants, they get their nutrients from soil. Their soil acts as a primary nutrient base for the plants. It is living place for wide variety of organisms. So which all different kind of organisms? We have small insects, right? Some of the small insect, bacteria, fungus, right? They act as the shelter for them, for these organisms. Soil absorbs rainwater. So soil has the capacity to absorb the water in itself. The soil water is used by plants. When it rains, the soil absorbs the water within itself, and that particular water is being used by the plants. Humans have deteriorated soil quality in various ways. So, we human beings are being very cruel to nature now. We are wasting water. Then, how are we harming the soil? How are we deteriorating the soil quality? Let's see. Salinization. Salinization. It is caused by the rise in the water table when water enters the soil at higher rate at which it is being used from soil. It means salinization means the water flow should be in a particular at a particular rate. If it flows more than what it should be flowing, then it causes salinization. Okay, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ನಿಂದ ಗಾಡಿ ಹೊಡಿತಿರ್ತೀರಿ, ಹೌದಾ? ಅಚಾನಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ರು ಯಾರು ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ನಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹಿಂದಿಂದ ಹೊಡೆದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಹೋಗೋ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ನಾಗ ಹೋಗ್ತಿರೋ ಏನಾದರೂ ಡಬಲ್ ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ನಾಗ ಹೋಗ್ತೀರಿ. ಡಬಲ್ ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ನಾಗ ಹೋಗಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಬಿದ್ದು ಬಿಡ್ತೀರಿ. ಯು ಆರ್ ಪ್ರೋನ್ ಟು ಆಕ್ಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ದೆನ್, ರೈಟ್? ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ the rate which has to be maintained for the absorption of water, flow of water within the soil, it is being increased and the upper layer is being destroyed. Desertification. The soil pollution, now this is what we call as soil pollution. The soil pollution means you're polluting it. The actual nature of the soil is being destroyed. That's pollution. The soil pollution caused by waterlogging and salinization lead to barren and useless lands. This is called as desertification. What is it called as? Desertification. That means the overflow of water on the soil, waterlogging. That means the water becomes stagnant at that logging there. So this salinization and waterlogging both together, they are affecting this soil. They are polluting. They are actually polluting the soil, and that would lead to barren lands and useless lands. ಬಂಜರು ಭೂಮಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. That means you can't uh, plant there anything. You can't plant. You can't get that land for irrigation or agriculture purpose. It is a useless land. So that is called as desertification. Use of chemical fertilizers is also the reason for soil pollution. What is one more reason for soil pollution is chemical fertilizers. Nowadays, the farmers, in case of agriculture, they are using these chemical fertilizers because to get rid of the pesticides. But when they use these chemical fertilizers, yes, they are getting rid of this pesticides and all the insects and fine. But this particular chemical, it when it falls on the soil, okay, it reduces the fertility of the soil. Chemical, they are very harmful. So because of this harmful nature of the chemical, the soil loses its quality. The use of pesticides to protect the crops is leading to the pollution of soil. That means when we use excess of chemical fertilizers, the soil fertility is being lost there. Soil erosion. What is soil erosion then? The upper layer of soil gets exposed to many different activities because of which the topmost layer of the soil becomes loose and the fertility is lost. That means because of the use excess of irrigation and all for a continuous process, the upper layer whatever we have the soil, it is becoming very loose and the fertility of that soil is lost. This is called as soil erosion. We are exposing the upper layer of the soil for we are exposing it for many different activities. Because of that, the fertility of the soil is lost. That means whenever due to this it is subjected to the action of wind and water. So when the fertility and the tightness of what we call ಜಿಗಟ್ಟನ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, when that is lost, if we have the wind with force or water with the force, the upper layer it flows with that water or the wind, and because of that whatever the fertility we had, a little bit of fertility that will be lost there. Weathering of rocks is a natural process of soil formation. Now you would be asking, how does soil form? So soil formation takes place by the weathering of rocks. So that means we have huge rocks it takes million and million of years to form the soil. So weathering of rocks, that means when the rocks have been got down to small powder, soil comes from these rocks only. They have been weathering means ಘರ್ಷಣೆ ಅದರಿಂದ ಆಗಿ 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 ಸಣ್ಣ ಪುಡಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತದ್ರಿ. So that's how the soil is formed. The rate of soil formation is very low compared to the rate of soil erosion, and that means the soil erosion which is taking place now is at very higher stage compared to the soil formation. For soil formation it takes hundreds together of years, but for soil erosion 1 year 6 months is only enough, because we are using that soil at very high rate. In case of agriculture, what the farmers do, okay, they have put a crop in that particular land. When they get that crop, they don't give time for the soil to get the fertility in it. The very next moment they put the next crop. So because of this continuous process, the soil is not having the ability to replenish the fertility in it, and that will lead to the soil erosion. Thus, the soil conservation is very important to reduce the rate of soil erosion. So, that means there has to be a systematic planning for this particular soil erosion. To avoid this soil erosion, you have to plan in some way. That means cycling of in crops. That means once we have the rice, then next we go with the pulses, because there we have pulses are good to replenish the nitrogen in the soil, right? We have to use such kind of plants, such kind of crops in alternative way, so that the fertility of the soil is not spoiled. Lastly, the homework. Before going to the homework, let's just recall what we have learned today. We have learned about how these natural resources have been divided, and then we came to the non-living resources. First one was water. So we came to know how much water we have on earth, how much we are using the surface water, the fresh water, how we should use it. If we don't use it in that way, what will happen? Then we came to soil, how the soil is important for us, how the soil erosion, soil pollution is taking place. Okay, all right. So in this video, we are going to have part 1 and part 2. This is the part 1. Okay, the next part we'll learn the remaining resources. All right. So this is your homework for today. These are the questions. Before answering these questions, go through this chapter once again, read it well, okay, and then answer these questions in a separate science book itself and get it to the school by your parents. We'll correct it, and if you have doubts, we'll answer it there and then. Okay, do well. Thank you.